September 2017, South Germany, near Munich, 11 p.m. Two men and one woman are waiting on the side of an abandoned farmhouse. What they are waiting for, they don't know. They just know who they are waiting for. Connie, the fourth person of the group. When the four of them had arrived at the farmhouse, Connie had told everybody to just give her a few minutes. She then went to the back of the farmhouse, and she was gone for half an hour. When she came back without pants, covered in blood. Connie would answer no questions. What happened, where she was. She just went back to the car, sat down in the back seat, lit up a cigarette, and that was it. And the four of them drove away into the night. This is the True Crime Cocktail Hour, and this is the story about a woman who turned deadly because she wanted to keep a secret. 8 months prior, January of 2017. Connie is 21 years old. She has long red hair. She has more of like a curvy figure, and this is indeed an important detail. We don't really know a lot about her early life. What we do know is that for the past 6 years, ever since she was a teenager, Connie has constantly been in relationships. So if she ever was single, she wasn't single for long. So just to give you an idea of how fast things are going for Connie, Connie broke up with her ex-boyfriend in January of 2017, met her new boyfriend Mike in February of 2017, and moved in with said new boyfriend Mike in March of 2017, so she doesn't lose any goddamn time. Now, Mike was in his early 20s. I couldn't figure out what he was doing for a living, but he lived with his mom, right? Which is fine, but that meant when Connie moved in with him, she basically moved into his bedroom. And the two of them were constantly together. And as you can imagine, this caused some trouble along the way. Like one time they had this really huge fight. Connie packed up all of her things and moved out. So Connie moved back in with her parents, and Connie's parents have always been very supportive of her. She was always welcome back home. They were also very supportive of her when it came to her finances. And if you know the rest of the story, it seems like sometimes it was a little bit much, you know? It seemed like she could do nothing wrong, you know? So anyway, after a couple of weeks, Connie realized that she really missed her boyfriend Mike, and she wanted to be together with him again. So the two reconciled, and Connie moved back in with Mike. Now I know what you're thinking. Having their own apartment would probably solve all of their problems. But you know, the rent in South Germany for a reasonably nice apartment was hardly affordable, and neither Mike nor Connie made a lot of money. Connie went to college for a couple of years, but she failed to get a degree because she didn't register with the university. So I don't know how it works in the United States. Here in Germany, you go to college, and then once you're ready to graduate, you let the university know that you are ready to graduate and that you are ready to hand in your final paper. And then you get your college degree. She didn't do that for whatever reasons, so she spent all these years in college. She just wouldn't get a degree. You probably agree with me on this. This is kind of like a stupid reason not to get your college degree. But unfortunately, this is kind of like a characteristic trait of Connie. When things start to get uncomfortable, like getting a college degree, it puts a lot of pressure on you. You might get anxiety. She has a very special coping mechanism, a defense mechanism, if you will. So what Connie does is she ignores it. She just won't take care of it. Out of sight, out of mind. Anything that kind of stresses her, puts pressure on her, gives her anxiety, she won't sit down and handle it, you know? Stepping out of your comfort zone, taking care of these important things is not really her cup of tea. And it's not just that college degree that she didn't get. It's also her tax declaration. Now, I get it, doing your taxes is not everybody's favorite thing. I don't know about you, I do mine right away, but Connie doesn't do hers at all. There are just some things she won't take care of because it's uncomfortable. It's something she has to do that she doesn't want to do, so she just won't do it. So every time she's got like a letter in the mail from the tax office saying, hey, we need your declarations, she would just not even open it. She would just throw it in the trash to the other letters of the tax office. But in January of 2017, the tax office was kind of fed up with it. So they did some like standard calculations, and according to these standard calculations, Connie had to pay a late fee and additional taxes in the amount of 15,000 euros, which is like $16,000. Now, these standard calculations, they were way off. She wouldn't have to pay that kind of money. And you and me, we would probably like immediately get in touch with the tax office and take care of this shit. Not Connie. She would just accept it. Instead of taking care of her business, even though things are uncomfortable, she just wouldn't do it. So instead, she just swallows that bitter pill and she just lives with it. So by that time, Connie, she was in training to become an insurance saleswoman. She didn't make a lot of money because she was in training, but now, with this monthly garnishment, she had barely anything left. And she didn't do anything about it. She was like, okay, then that's how it is. She also never talks to anybody about her predicaments, not her parents, her friends, or her boyfriend. She prefers to deal or not deal with these kinds of things on her own. Nevertheless, in spring of 2017, things finally started to look up for Mike and Connie because the two of them finally got their first apartment. Connie's parents paid the rent. So much for that. They had no idea about this garnishment. But anyway, the two were so thrilled and they started to pack up their things to move. Now Mike, he was absolutely over the moon. I mean, he could not have been happier. Having his own apartment with the woman he loved, they even got a little dog, and he was over the moon. He was so excited. But at the same time, Connie became increasingly strange over the next couple of weeks. At first, like, things started rather small, okay? She would avoid her boyfriend, she would not speak to him, get out of his way. But at some point, she would refuse to change in front of him. She would not sleep with him. And Mike and Connie's friends, they noticed that she gained a little weight. Now look, this was not a big deal to anybody, not to Mike, not her friends. Mike loved her the way she is, even if she did put on a little weight. And her friends, it didn't really bother them, but I guess they were kind of concerned about her health. So they wanted to address it, at least, you know? So her friends, they were really supportive and very friendly when they addressed this rather uncomfortable topic to her. They weren't like, hey, fatty. But it didn't matter who would ask Connie about her weight gain, she would always give the same answer. Oh, I just ate too much. I just ate too much. Oh, it just looks like I gained weight. I actually just ate too much today. That would be like her number one answer, and the only answer she would give at all. But still, these comments were kind of getting to her. They were kind of hurting her feelings, and Mike noticed it. So even though he also noticed that she had gained some weight, he saw that these comments were kind of hurting her feelings, so he would not address it at all. But then in September of 2017, things again started to look up because there was this big-ass car tuning festival coming up in Austria, and Connie and Mike really wanted to go because car tuning was a big hobby of both of them. So they packed up their things for this festival. They also took their little dog and a befriended couple, and they were on their way to Austria. So the four of them had an amazing time together. I mean, car tuning, music, food, cold drinks, they were having the time of their lives. And not only that, Mike and Connie also became closer to each other again. Not just emotionally, but also physically, if you know what I mean. But then the day of departure comes, and the day was not off to a good start, because Connie apparently had gotten her period and was in tremendous pain because of it. So the car ride home was kind of a slow one because literally every couple of miles they had to stop the car because Connie was in so much pain and really feeling sick. It got so bad that Mike eventually offered to take her to a hospital, which Connie refused. She just said she just wanted to go home. But when they had just 1 hour more to go, Connie couldn't take the pain anymore, and she asked her friends again to stop the car. And this time, the four of them stopped the car on the side of an abandoned farmhouse. Now the four of them got out, and Connie told everybody, as mentioned in the intro, to wait for her because she had to, quote, take care of a little problem, end quote. She then went to the back of the farmhouse. After 5 minutes, she would peek around the farmhouse and asked her boyfriend Mike to hand her the kitchen paper they had in the car, which Mike did. And then Connie took the kitchen paper and was gone for half an hour. When she came back, she was covered in blood. Everybody kind of freaked out at this point when they saw her covered in blood, and they asked her what happened, to which Connie replied, get this, "Oh, I had a cyst and I pulled it out of me." That was her answer, and mind you, the only answer any one of them would get. And Connie after that refused to answer any more questions. She would just get back in the car, lit up a cigarette, and sit there in silence. And the other three had no choice but to also go back to the car and keep on driving. When they got home, Connie just took a shower and fell asleep as soon as her head hit the pillow. And that was it. None of them would ever talk about what happened that very night. And things started to get back to normal, at least for a couple of days. So Mike and Connie went with this befriended couple, right? For the sake of the story, let's call them Anna and Tom, right? So everything went back to normal until the following Sunday evening when Mike got a phone call from Anna. And Anna was super upset, but before Mike could even ask what's wrong, Anna demanded he put Connie on the phone, and Anna was pissed off. So he did what she said. So Connie answers the phone, and this is when Anna told her that she read in the newspaper that they had found a dead baby on the side of this very farmhouse, and that they had also found a pair of women's jeans, and that they were now looking for witnesses. And Anna, she wouldn't take any more shit from Connie, and she demanded that she tells the truth right fucking now. And in the presence of Mike, Connie confessed. As a matter of fact, she had indeed given birth to a baby girl that very night. She had never told anybody about her pregnancy because she feared that Mike would not be ready to become a father in his early 20s and that he would probably break up with her if she told him. So she just didn't. So Mike, when he heard about what happened, he wasn't angry or furious. He wasn't thrilled either. The first thing he wanted to do is get Connie to a hospital to get her checked out. And it turned out, this is so gross, it turned out that Connie had suffered a perineal, is that how you say it? A perineal tear from giving birth. And even after giving birth, when she was back home, she would never see a doctor to have it checked out or fixed. She would just live with the pain and the wound and risk an infection for 4 days, just so no one would notice. Now you're probably wondering, okay, if she didn't want to keep the baby, why didn't she just get an abortion? That's also the exact same question investigators had. And it was the exact same question they asked her at the hospital bed. And Connie explained. So even though she had the suspicion that she was pregnant at some point, she decided to do what she always does when things get uncomfortable. She just ignores it. She just pretends everything is fine. And this is also why she kept on taking her birth control pills. And when the first symptoms of her pregnancy were showing, she would just sugarcoat it. So the weight gain, when people were addressing it, she just said, "Oh, I just ate too much." And if anybody would ever pin her down on it or put pressure on it because they were not buying her story of "I just ate too much," she would become very aggressive and very annoyed. And to some people she said, "Oh, I have an infection. I'm already in treatment for it. I'm fine," which was obviously a total lie. And at some point, there was just no talking to her. Every time anybody would ever address the weight gain or her belly becoming rounder, she would get so pissed off, and defensive and aggressive with that person that eventually no one would even dare to mention it anymore, including her boyfriend Mike. Also, to pretend that everything was fine, that she was not pregnant, she would do everything you are not supposed to do when you are pregnant, like drinking alcohol, smoking cigarettes. She lifted up those heavy boxes when the two of them moved into their new apartment. But when they were about to leave this car tuning festival, she went into labor. And the car ride home would last at least 8 hours. But Connie has a plan. So Connie's plan was to just pull it together and then secretly give birth at home, give the kid up for adoption, and Mike would never find out. Great plan. But 1 hour away from home, like I said, she couldn't take it anymore, and she asked her friends to stop the car. She went to the back of the farmhouse. She knew that she was about to give birth. She she was able to ask her boyfriend to hand her the kitchen paper to soak up the blood, and then she gave birth without making a freaking sound so that no one would notice. She gave birth in total silence. I can't even imagine that. However, what she did not consider is that a newborn baby will most likely start crying or screaming. And this baby girl did exactly that, and Connie panicked. So Connie, this is totally gross, she would cut the umbilical cord with her teeth, and then she proceeded to put her hands on the baby's mouth and nose to keep it from screaming, which did not work, obviously. And Connie panicked even more. She was in so much fear that Mike would just show up randomly out of nowhere and see what she was doing, and she just wanted the baby to be silent. So she took a piece of kitchen paper and shoved it deep into the baby's throat until it was silent. After the baby was silent, Connie got up. As if nothing happened, she walked back to the others, leaving her baby behind in the dark. So investigators, they were listening to this story at the hospital bed, and they could not believe what they were hearing. I mean, I think no one could. And especially they really had a hard time wrapping their heads around the fact that apparently no one, not her boyfriend, not her friends, not her parents, no one apparently ever noticed that she was pregnant. Especially Mike, who, mind you, had sexual intercourse with her just 1 week prior to giving birth. But according to the investigators, Mike and everybody else, when they found out, they seemed to be believably shocked. So apparently, no one really noticed. So Connie is arrested and charged with murder. Mike is not arrested, but he is charged with failure to render assistance. The prosecution demanded a life in prison sentence because they said, you know what, this whole case has kind of like a disposal mentality to it. She acted out of low motives, she acted out of pure selfishness, and in the German law enforcement, in the German law enforcement, it doesn't really matter whether the victim lived for 8 seconds or 80 years. If you kill out of low motives, you will get a life in prison sentence. And this is exactly what Connie got during the first trial, but she filed for an appeal and it was actually granted. Connie explained that she did not want to kill her baby, she just wanted it to be silent. So this murder was rather spontaneous and not planned, and this is why ultimately they charged her with manslaughter and not murder, and Connie was sentenced to 8 years in prison. She could still be in prison, she could also be walking free today. Also, during the second trial, very interesting, I love that, Connie just came up with a new story. Yeah, she explained that she had been pregnant once before when she was 17, and back then she had told her back then boyfriend about her pregnancy, and apparently this boyfriend, he got so angry and he beat her up so bad for it that she ended up losing the kid. And the investigators were like, okay, great, give us this boyfriend's name. To which Connie replied, oh, I don't remember his name. Mike was sentenced to a damage payment of approximately 5,000 euros. He broke up with Connie, as he should. And so ends the story of a very sad and a very unnecessary death. That was it from me, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. And if you want, I will see you again next week for another cocktail and another mysterious true crime case.